Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. I don't know what you want. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose.
Hello, and welcome to the Full Send Half Mast podcast, episode number 36. Today is Tuesday, September 26th. We got some news to talk about here, quite a bit actually, and then we will review this weekend's races. We had the Formula One Japanese Grand Prix, Xfinity Cup at Texas Motor Speedway. We'll go through the Driver of the Week, Bonehead of the Week segments. We'll cover the point standings in the Cup Series after the first race of the round of 12, as well as Formula One driver and constructors points that have been kind of decided there in the constructors. And then I'll preview all of the races coming up this weekend, which are the Trucks and Cup Series at Talladega. Ooh, I love the sound of that. And then ARCA at Salem for the Atlas 200. We'll go over my fantasy. I'll give you my picks for this weekend and all the races, as well as our Radioactive of the Week and our shout out. We'll get to that later on. And then I have a few other things I want to talk about towards the end of this podcast that you guys are definitely wanting to stay tuned to. So make sure you watch to the end. Got some pretty juicy stuff to talk about. But before we get into this, we're going to get a quick word from our sponsor. W Energy Blends, introducing Neurofactor, an all-natural coffee cherry extract to help fuel you with energy, laser focused, and fast reflexes. Provides concentration with important aminos and vitamins without the crash that ordinary canned energy drinks just cannot provide. Try amazing flavors such as Dragonade, Dub Sludge, Galaxy Grenade, and my personal favorite, Beach and Peach. Buy the starter pack today, including 2 flavors and a shake cup for an extremely low price. Follow the link in the description below and use promo code DIGABOYS for 10% off of your order. Thanks to Dubby for their continued sponsorship of DIGABOYS Broadcasting. Alrighty. So, we'll get right into the news. This was kind of a weird week of news. There wasn't a whole bunch of news for most of the week, and then we just kind of got hit with a bunch of bombshells here in the last couple days. I guess first off, I want to talk about Logan Seavey's 4-crown sweep at Eldora. He won the USAC Silver Crown race, he won the midget race, and then the non-ween sprint car race, becoming the 3rd driver to do this. It was a huge feat. Did them all in pretty dominating fashion, and it was pretty cool to see somebody do that. So that was going to nominate Logan Seavey as a Driver of the Week nominee here from the Dega Boys. So that poll, like I said, as always, will be out at the end of this podcast for you guys to vote on. But Logan Seavey with the sweep of the 4 crowns at Eldora, super huge achievement for him. Also, this weekend at Talladega, heck yeah. Ryan Preece and Chase Briscoe at Stewart Haas Race, and they're going to be running some Talladega Night schemes. They look really sick. Ryan Preece is going to be running the Ricky Bobby scheme, while Chase Briscoe's running the Cal Naughton Jr. scheme. So it'll be cool to see those on track. We've seen a couple of these in the past, like especially with Kurt Busch when he ran the Me car back when he ran for Phoenix Racing. So it's kind of cool to get some more Talladega Nights themed, inspired Talladega paint schemes. So look forward to that. And then also this weekend, we had a race at Texas Motor Speedway in the Cup Series, but also being announced that it is being taken off of the 2024 IndyCar schedule and being replaced with Milwaukee Mile, one of the oldest oval tracks in North America and probably in the world, making a return to the IndyCar. It's kind of just been sitting there abandoned. I mean, we've seen ARCA and trucks there this season, put on some great shows, but IndyCar returning to one of its iconic venues, the Milwaukee Mile. Super exciting. Kind of tough news for Texas, because Texas and IndyCar Series, it's kind of been a staple over the last 5-6 years. Put on some really good racing, but apparently they are going a different direction with the IndyCar Series, and the IndyCar schedule next year is looking really good. Like we mentioned, as Nashville Street Course, they're doing a little bit of reconfiguration there, and that's going to be the season finale next year. They move Laguna Seca up in the schedule. Then we also have the All-Star $1 Million Challenge event there, like in the early March. So some good things happening in IndyCar. Also announced, I believe this was earlier today, I read this, Sammy Smith signs a multi-year contract with Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity Series in the number 8. We've seen Toyota drivers jump ship from the Toyota programs and jump over to Junior Motorsports in the last few years, notably like William Byron, when he drove for KBM in the trucks, moved over to Junior Motorsports. Also Noah Gragson was racing for KBM in the trucks, moved over to Junior Motorsports, and now they swiped Sammy Smith away from Toyota, and he's going to be racing for Junior Motorsports in the number 8, replacing Josh Berry, who we know is going to the Cup Series to replace Kevin Harvick next year. So be interesting. I don't know what my thoughts are here. I know he's a very talented driver. He's shown it this year, but I don't know. The shenanigans we've seen out of Junior Motorsports so far this season, I mean, it seems like every week their worst enemy is themselves. So I don't know. I mean, Brandon Jones is another example. He was racing it at Gibbs in the 19 car 2 years ago, and then this year he makes the leap over to Junior Motorsports, and he's just had a terrible season. Didn't even make the playoffs. The biggest full-time name to not make the playoffs other than Riley Herbst. So we'll just have to wait and see. Very interesting news. Also out of the Chevy camp, specifically Hendrick Motorsports. Their number 17 Xfinity Series ride is going to be occupied by Boris Said, 61 years old, making what he claims may be his final NASCAR start at the Charlotte Roval here next weekend for Hendrick Motorsports. So that'll be interesting. I don't know. He was claimed to be this big road course ringer, and I don't think he was very successful. So we'll see what he can do in his farewell race, I guess, in his own words. And then also, huge fan, Dega Boys, we're huge fans of Rajah Caruth. We think he's got a lot of talent. He's got a bright future ahead of him. Well, he's going to not only be making another Xfinity Series start, but he's going to be making one for Hendrick Motorsports in the number 17 car as well at Phoenix, the season finale there. So I'm excited for Rajah Caruth. I want to see what he can do in an HMS quality Xfinity ride. I think that his future's bright. He's a big learner, and I think if he gets kind of thrust into that Chevy spotlight, especially with Hendrick Motorsports, to see what he can do talent-wise. Maybe he can compete. That'll be fun to watch. Also out of the World Endurance Championship news, I read this today as Sebastian Vettel is rumored to be in talks with Jota, the Porsche team, in the World Endurance Championship for 2024. I think this is some exciting news. I would love to see it. Sebastian Vettel, world-class driver, Formula One world champion, won many Grand Prix. We'll see what he can do towards the later end of his racing days in a Jota Porsche for the 2024 World Endurance Championship. It's not confirmed, just rumors, but I would love to see it. The World of Sports Car World Endurance Championship, IMSA, it's just growing. It's growing tenfold. Probably the fastest growing motorsport in the world. It was stagnant there for a while, and I think it's just now it's on a rise, and I think the popularity of it is growing worldwide. Very underrated racing. I think it's amazing racing, and we only have one round left this season in both IMSA and the World Endurance Championship. But next year, the numbers and car counts for these series are just growing and growing and growing. So I'm excited. More world-class drivers you can bring to your league. The more entries, more manufacturers, the better, right? Growth. That's one thing that other racing sanctioning bodies haven't really understood as of late is the growth factor. And it looks like Jota and Porsche want to grow with a world-class driver with Sebastian Vettel. So that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome to see. Also this weekend, Trevor Ward ends up winning the Valley Star Credit 300 at Martinsville for the Cars Tour, kind of like their big event there at Martinsville that they do every season. And he ended up beating Landon Huffman in a pretty thrilling battle there at the end, side by side, beating and banging, good old short track racing. And Trevor Ward ends up claiming the dub in that one. It's a pretty cool race. If you guys have a chance, go check it out. It's Full of Races got a pretty good highlight of it. And also, if you really like the controversy, I mean, at the end of this race, there was like a big old brawl in the pit area. It was exciting. Somebody caught it on their phone. It was wild. You saw people throwing hands and expletives. It was great. It was some entertaining stuff there out at Martinsville this weekend. As well as in the IndyCar ranks, Kyle Kirkwood, we've seen him win 2 street course races this season. He is coming back to sign an extension to stay with Andretti Autosport. So Andretti believes in him. They know he's winning. He's proved he's a winning driver. And so now he's getting an extension with Andretti after kind of some shakeups there with Grosjean not returning, and then they're bringing in Marcus Ericsson, So we'll see what Andretti can do to match the Ganassis and the Penske's of the world in next season. So it'll be very interesting to see. Best of luck to him. Also, what I'm going to talk about here more in a little bit is this weekend, NASCAR suspended 6 crew members from various teams for the loose wheel shenanigans we saw again this weekend in Texas. Another reoccurring problem that keeps popping up. I'll talk about that more here in a little bit when we get into the Texas Cup Series race review. But 6 crew members from various teams suspended. Big Daddy NASCAR stuff. And then also my last little bit of news here is Ryan Preece is rumored to be returning to the number 41 in 2024 for Stewart-Haas Racing. There's not much to say there. I mean, we'll just have to see what comes from this. I don't know. He's a great race car driver. Stewart-Haas has been on the downswing. There's just not much to say, but he's got a secured ride. I guess that's all that matters, right? Alrighty, so let's get right into our race reviews for this weekend. On Saturday, we had the Andes Frozen Custard 300 at Texas, which saw Justin Allgaier qualify on pole. We had a caution on lap 2 with 2 separate incidents here. Sam Mayer and Riley Herbst both getting into the wall. This brought out a caution. This was pretty much the only incidents there in stage 1. Justin Allgaier goes on to win stage 1. Looking like another one of these Justin Allgaier races, right? Just dominating the race, qualifies pole, wins stage 1. Then we had a major incident on lap 56 with Brennan Poole. Went sideways down the front stretch, went through the grass, and ended up making contact with the inside pit wall. Really violent collision. He got airborne, lifted the whole car off the ground. Crew members, unfortunately, were off the wall at the time of, so no serious injuries or anything. But I think the coolest part about this whole wreck is I can't remember exactly which pit box it was, but it looked like the crew members were like giving the peace sign to the car as he was coming by. It was pretty exciting, actually. the awareness, I guess, of the situation. It was wild, but that was pretty much the biggest incident there. Jeffrey Earnhardt was having a rough day. Made the start for Alpha Prime in the 45 car. He got into the wall early. The outside line in the Xfinity race really didn't come in like we saw it in the Cup race. And so it looked like if you just got a little bit further off of the line going on the exit of 2, you were just going to eat the wall. And that's what happened. I mean, he just tagged the wall, really killed his car. And then from there, Justin Allgaier again wins stage 2, looking like one of these typical Justin Allgaier races we've seen through, I don't know, the last third of this season, just dominating these races. But unfortunate for him, though, and I'll get into that here more in a second, but lap 98, Trevor Bayne got loose running about 4th or 5th, collects Josh Berry, Austin Hill, kind of a big accordion wreck there off of 4. And then lap 92, again, Jeffrey Earnhardt, it was very similar to the first incident, got a little too wide off of 2 and ends up grabbing the wall, and that was the end of his day. Then late in this race, we had multiple cautions. I think this was a caution-filled race. I think I had like 13 cautions, maybe 12 cautions, something like that. So we saw another one late. Justin Allgaier's on older tires. He just kept trying to maintain that track position, didn't come down pit lane or anything. Did pretty good on the first few restarts there with a lot of those late race incidents that happened. And then Parker Kligerman was on fresher tires. He ends up battling with Justin Allgaier there with about 6 laps to go for the win. And it looked like he clipped the apron there in 3 and 4, got washed up the track. Him and Allgaier nearly make contact, and John Hunter Nemechek was able to pounce on it and took the lead and ends up going on to win the race. Justin Allgaier, I believe, finished like 4th, 5th maybe. So again, just finding ways to lose races, and I feel like this was one of those races I don't think he could have afforded or could have avoided losing because of all the late race shenanigans and cautions that happened. Really put him in a box, and he put up a valiant effort. I mean, Parker Kligerman, John Hunter Nemechek, I believe John Hunter Nemechek was going to win the race regardless, even if Parker Kligerman got the lead. But it would have been fun to watch Parker Kligerman get the lead, clear him clean, and then maybe try to defend John Hunter. It didn't happen for him, but big day nonetheless for Parker Kligerman. He came in 20-something points below the cut line, 22, 23, something like that after his issues there at Bristol. And he cut that points deficit down. I think he's only 1 point down from the cut line. So great race for him. Great race for him. We saw other guys in the playoffs have trouble, especially Daniel Hemrick. He ran through the grass early in the race, tore the whole left run off the car basically, and looked like he was going to salvage a decent day, but all his late cautions came out, and he ended up having to abort on his strategy and got buried in the back of the field, and then ends up spinning late. NASCAR doesn't throw a caution, ends up going multiple laps down, lost a ton of points to Parker Kligerman there. So very unfortunate for him. But John Hunter Nemechek goes on to win the race and secures a spot into the next round of the playoffs and continuing this dominant season that he's on and trying to get this championship before he walks out to go to Legacy Motor Club in the Cup Series next year. Also on Saturday, the Formula One Japanese Grand Prix. This was late Saturday night. Great race. We saw Verstappen back on pole. Like we mentioned on the podcast before, Tom and me were discussing, was Singapore kind of just a bad indication of where Red Bull's at, like just an unfortunate weekend they had. I chalked it up to he's going to be back running up front. Tom said, well, this would be a good indicator if they don't run up front that maybe they're putting their eyes towards next season, considering that they pretty much got the drivers and constructors championships locked up. And that didn't seem to be the case. Verstappen ends up qualifying on pole here. We had a safety car lap 1 with Bottas and Albon making contact in a turn 1 on the initial start. Albon got airborne. It was pretty wild. But this race was just shenanigans, and I will get into some of the shenanigans with you. Lap 5, Bottas gets turned by Logan Sargent. Logan Sargent wrecked again. I mean, in practice or qualifying, I can't exactly remember what it was, but just typical Logan Sargent stuff. This guy is just overhyped, over his head is where I'm trying to go with this. This guy is not Formula One ready. Great race car driver, just he's not Formula One ready. I don't think he'll ever be Formula One ready. Just really having a terrible season. He wrecks just about every weekend. He ends up turning Valtteri Bottas. Just the weirdest incident. Just shenanigans. That's all it is. Just overdriving your head. and that's what happened there to Bottas. Sargent got into him. And then we saw a similar thing again. Sergio Perez, I am just over this guy, man. This guy is an absolute clown case, man. This guy starts the season off trading wins with Verstappen the first 4 or 5 races. And I'm sitting here thinking, I think we even put an episode out on this or made a talking point in a podcast way back in the year talking about how we thought this was going to be one of these Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton-esque championship battles all the way through the season. And it was right with that Monaco crash, Sergio Perez's season just went downhill. This guy is struggling to get a podium, struggling to finish races, struggling to get points. Can't get out of his own way. Can't even get through Q3 some weekends. Like, what are we doing over here, Sergio Perez? He just completely sent it in and just took out Magnussen. Just absolutely took out the Haas. Just absolute shenanigans. That's going to nominate Sergio Perez as a bonehead move of the week. Just what an absolute clown. And then had more issues later in the race. I believe he ended up having to leave the GP for a while with some issues. Comes back into the race. It was just a weird clown show. I don't know what's happened to Sergio Perez. He's coming back next year, and I feel like if we could put another driver, like I've mentioned with Alex Palou, if I was Red Bull, I'd be trying to put some money together to try and buy out Sergio Perez's contract. Maybe buy out Alex Palou's IndyCar contract with McLaren, all that shenanigans that's going on over there that we could get into, but I don't want to right now because there's a lot to unpack there. But it'd be awesome to see a different driver with some capability jump into that second Red Bull. I would love to see Alex Palou. But we're stuck with Sergio Perez, and we'll just have to see what next year, even the rest of this year. I mean, at this point, Sergio Perez is basically racing for his reputation. I mean, this is just clownery at its finest. And then more shenanigans out of Mercedes. Like we mentioned last week with maybe it was 2 podcasts ago with the whole Singapore Grand Prix with the McLaren clown show, and they're trying to be all, like Mercedes and their clownery that's been going on over the past few years. They end up making contact. Lewis Hamilton ran George Russell up the track, and then George Russell just proceeds to turn into crybaby mode and whine and complain, and it's like, come on, man, this is racing, dude. And you can't even really be mad at George Russell in this situation, because if the roles were reversed, Lewis Hamilton would be doing the same thing. So just McLaren, Mercedes, just absolute clowns, just a clown show. That's what I could describe this race as, just an absolute clown show. I mean, and then you got the Mercedes, Oscar Piastri. They did a undercut pit, end up leaping over Lando Norris here, and then on lap 27, Lando Norris is running behind Piastri, and he's begging for team orders to let him by, let me by, I'm faster, and just whining and moaning and complaining, just doing what he does best, and they end up making Piastri give the spot over to Lando Norris, which is common in Formula One. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I get it. It's team orders. But just to sit there and whine and complain as long as he did, I mean, I feel like it just goes from the top to the bottom, right? With Mercedes, it's Toto Wolff, and then it just trickles down through the team, and then the drivers are clowns, and they whine and cry and complain. Same with McLaren, Zach Brown. He's just a clown himself, and then it trickles down to the drivers, and it's just, these two teams, man, they don't do what these other teams do, where they go out and just race and try to be the best they can be. And that's what we saw throughout this race. And there's really no competition for the win. Verstappen won this race in pretty convincing fashion. And then the McLarens, P2 and P3, Norris, P2, Piastri, P3. Verstappen, fastest lap. He's sitting at an even 400 points for the championship, well ahead. But the big note here is Red Bull clinched the Constructors title this weekend. So no matter what happens for the rest of the season, they could DNF in every race, and another constructor could win every race. They can't mathematically beat the Red Bulls and the Constructors. Constructors is sealed up for Red Bull this season. So big time news there. And I will go over the top 3 in the driver standings, because Lewis Hamilton is actually closing this gap on Sergio Perez. That's why I'm saying Sergio Perez race for his reputation for the rest of the season. Here it is. He is currently only 33 points ahead of Hamilton. That's like 2 races. So if Perez does some stuff that he does this weekend again, 2 weekends in a row, Hamilton could be right there within 5, 6. Maybe if gets back-to-back podiums, Perez don't get no points. Maybe he can be right there within 1 or 2. Maybe even take it from him. Very interesting there. And then, like I mentioned, Red Bull Constructors Champions. And next is the Cup Series race on Sunday. Before I talk about this race, though, I want to mention. I said this to Tom during this first stage here. The Xfinity race was kind of a clown show itself. There was 13 cautions, absolutely crazy. And then the F1 race, they go out and have an absolute clown show. So they look at the Xfinity race and like, all right, watch this, hold my beer, and they go out and make a clown show. The Cup race, they literally looked at the F1 race and said, wow, if you're going to tell the Xfinity race to hold your beer, watch this. They were like, let me grab my keg and watch this. So, I mean, this first stage of this Cup race, I'll try to break it down the best I can. There's a lot to unpack here, and it was probably one of the most embarrassing stages I've seen in a Cup race in a long time. It was to one point where me and Tom are texting back and forth. And I'm like, what am I watching? What is this? Just absolute shenanigans. I'll try to break this down for you guys here. So Sunday, the Auto Trader Eco Park Automotive 400. We saw Bubba Wallace qualifying pole. I've got a lot to talk about with Bubba Wallace as well here throughout the end of this podcast. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I got a lot of big, strong opinions that probably people won't like, but it's going to be very good. You guys want to hear it. We saw caution early. Like I mentioned, the 6 crew members from various teams being penalized or suspended for these loose wheels. We saw one right off the bat after the first round of pit stops. Austin Dillon ends up losing a tire and the wheel. The whole assembly comes off. Just the nut. You see the nut rolling. You see the tire off. You see the wheel follow. Yeah, we've seen this all year, right? We've made countless videos on this, and it's just a continuing problem in these Cup cars. I know Tom said something to me. Maybe I could pull it up on my text with him because he made a really good point. I wish he was here to explain it to you guys because what he said was a perfect way to describe what we saw. Let me see here. Oh, man. Like I said, this was an absolute clown show. There's so much going on that me and Tom were texting back and forth. All right. Tom says how Formula One fixed this issue with these wheels coming off was with captive nuts. I don't know if there's a reason why they can't run those in NASCAR. I don't know if it's like we've mentioned in the past, a weight issue with these stock cars. A lot of these other series that run the single lug don't weigh as much as a stock car. They don't run on high banked ovals like stock cars do. It could be a multitude of things. It could be stubbornness from the NASCAR world. It could be not as sufficient single source parts that maybe Formula One and IndyCar or IMSA or the World Endurance Championship or so on can run. I wish he was here to explain it better, but that's what he said. The best fix would be captive nuts. Whether that is a solution or not, I don't know. Maybe that's something NASCAR needs to look into, but it's happening at a rate that just seems to not be random anymore, I guess is the best way to say it. It's becoming like an actual trend, and it's really gonna hurt safety. Like somebody's really seriously gonna get hurt. And I don't think it's user error. It can't be user error. There's no way it can be. What's happening is these wheels are going on, and maybe they're not going on just far enough, and like 10, 30, like I mentioned here with JJ Yaley was the next one or no, it wasn't. It was Todd Gillen. He loses a wheel 13 laps after a pit stop. I mean, at this point, the nut had to have been tight, and it backed its way off and then came off. If it was going to come off, it would have came off any time in those 13 laps. There's a problem with this design that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed in a. I mean, we can make 3 more videos about this because it keeps happening, right? We shouldn't be discussing wheels coming off on a weekly basis. This is a very, very crucial mistake in either an engineering flaw, and I'm away from the whole user error thing anymore. And I think it's dumb that these people are getting suspended for this stuff. That's the wrong look for NASCAR. Instead of suspending people for this issue, go find out why it's happening. Go to the root of the cause, figure it out, fix it, and quit suspending people. This is their livelihood that you're ruining. Like, these people are making a living doing this. This is how they put food on their families' tables, and you're taking them away because of a thing that is, in my opinion, not a user error. This is a dang car construction error. We need to fix this. We need to fix this engineering error and quit suspending people for it. That's my opinion. That's Big Daddy NASCAR's call, though, and we've seen what they've done in the past. So if I was these teams, or if I own these teams, I would be very disappointed that my people are getting suspended for these issues. This is just ridiculous. I would be trying to appeal every one of these suspensions. I would. All right. Yep. Like I mentioned, also Dillon, Todd Gilliland, loose wheels. We saw another incident there with Carson Hocevar, Alex Bowman, and Eric Almirola. A 3-wide incident, just racing deal, but that brought out another caution. But the shenanigans in stage 1 didn't end there. Lap 74, a few laps prior, we heard Kyle Busch mention that he was having an issue, and maybe he thought he had a tire going down. Backs out of it, loses a spot or two, fills into the bottom. He's just trying to get to the end of the stage, and his car just comes right around. Like, the weirdest thing. It was like it didn't even look loose or anything. Just drove into the corner normal, and the car just sucked right around. Went into right into the wall, and then just an absolute Chad OG move, man. This guy, I love it when he does this. He goes in reverse all the way back to the pit lane. Just awesome stuff right there. I loved it. I loved it a lot. But yeah, in his post-race interview, after he got out of the care center, they asked him what happened, and he was asking everybody else, if you find out what happened, let me know, because I have no idea. That is just weird to me. I don't know what happened. It puts him in a deep hole in the points, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Another incident, though, I want to talk about in this first stage was a pit road incident between two Gibbs cars, Hamlin and Ty Gibbs. Going down pit road exit, Ty Gibbs was a lane down from the grass. You normally will go with the far right lane if you're exiting pit lane, and then you allow the other cars to exit pit lane and blend back in. He was a lane down, and Denny Hamlin just came out of his pit box and just slammed right in the side of, or Ty Gibbs slammed right in the side of Denny Hamlin. Ended up taking Ty Gibbs completely out of the race. Hamlin had a little bit of damage, may or may not have affected him for the duration of the race speed-wise, but very weird incident there. I'm sure they're going to talk about it, and Denny Hamlin, whenever anything goes bad with him, he just complains about it, and so, I don't know. We'll just have to see what comes from that, but bonehead move from Ty Gibbs, in my opinion, because we do these pit exits every week. It's kind of a natural thing that you do. It's kind of a driver code thing. You go to the farthest to the grass you can go, as far right as you can be, to allow other people to enter and exit their pit boxes, and he just didn't do that. So, and then you end up DNFing out of the race in cause of that. So, bonehead move of the week nominee there for Ty Gibbs. And after that, we had I believe it was a one-lap shootout there, where you saw Bubba Wallace didn't decide to race for stage points there, which I'm going to talk more about him here in a little bit, so don't worry. We'll get into that whole Bubba Wallace thing. But he decides to pit, and it cycled Reddick and I believe Buescher up to the front. We had a one-lap shootout there for stage 1. Tyler Reddick ends up winning the stage, and I believe Bubba got about 2 or 3 stage points. But he's in such a deep hole. We've said this. When you get to these types of rounds, you have to start winning races. So going for stage points versus winning the race. I'll talk about that more here in a minute. And then right at the end of the stage, to cap off the shenanigans of stage 1, coming after they cross the start-finish line, check up going into turn 1, and Brad Keselowski just rear-ended Truex, sent him right around. Just absolute craziness there. Absolute craziness. And yeah, I don't know. That was the cherry on the top for the weirdest stage I've seen in a long time. Just absolute clownery from start to finish. Just too many cautions, wheels getting launched. I mean, pit road shenanigans. You got caution ending, stage ending shenanigans. You got Kyle Busch, weird incident going backwards to the track. I mean, it was just an absolute clown show. It was a circus. It was wild to watch. Yeah, so that ended stage 1 there, which, I mean, we were like, where could this race go from here? Well, it all kind of cleaned itself up and became a normal race there for the rest of it. We saw a caution on lap 111 with Corey LaJoie spinning. Again, spun, tire went down. Fortunate, tire didn't come off. Wheel didn't come off, nothing crazy, so nothing to talk about there. Larson did have the fastest car. He did end up cycling to the lead here through stage 2. Ends up winning stage 2 by 5 seconds, 6 seconds. He was just head over heels best car on the track. Then we had a caution with 25 laps to go. After Larson looked like he had this race secured, JJ Yaley ends up crashing coming off of turn 2. Sets up a restart. Bubba Wallace up on the outside. Larson on the bottom. Driving into turns 1 and 2. After being side by side for a lap or two off the restart, Kyle Larson just lost control of his car, spun it sideways, up into the wall, and just ended Kyle Larson's race. I don't know what people's opinions really are of this. I try to stay away from what other people's opinions are because they're just weird. So my opinion are right here on this is this was just good racing. Just good racing. I mean, when you're on the outside, your job is to allow the guy below you to have a racing line, right? You don't want to take away their racing line. You want to run hard, but you also don't want to give them more racing room than they need. So you give them all just enough for a car length. You run right down on their door, keep them pinned, and you just try to carry the momentum on the top and try and make the pass. That's all you can do, especially at Texas where it's the outside line isn't really a preferred line other than the restarts. So he did everything right. I agree. I think there's nothing that Bubba Wallace did wrong there. And then Larson did the same thing on the bottom. He was using up his bottom line, and he's trying to get up as tight and close to that outside guy as he can, trying to kill his momentum as well while he's trying to kill your momentum. Just hard, tight racing. That's what you want to see, right? You want to see good racing at the end of these races, especially for the win between these two drivers. And that's what we saw. And unfortunately, Kyle Larson got just looped it around and wrecked. That's part of it. And then we had multiple restarts here at the end of this race with Bubba Wallace kept choosing the outside. It worked 2 or 3 times for him. Ultimately, it didn't work out on the final one. Briscoe got a great restart on the bottom there with about 6-7 to go, I believe, on that final restart. Stayed even with Bubba. Actually got ahead of him there going out of 2. Bubba tried to come back on the outside, killed both their momentum coming off of turn 2. Byron took it to the inside, 3 wide, took the lead, goes on to win the race. 6th win of the season for William Byron, secures him into the round of 8. I said this after the race. I texted Tom and I said, I think that 24 team and William Byron found that golden horseshoe Jimmy Johnson had for so many years, because this is about the 3rd or 4th race he's won this season where he didn't have what appeared to be the winning car. I mean, if you look back at Atlanta with the rain delay, he was spinning through the grass like somewhere 100 laps into the race and comes back to win the race. I mean, Phoenix, he was running like, 4th, 5th? Late race caution, most of the leaders pit. He ends up getting a great restart, wins the race. Again, here at Texas, did the same thing. So I think that William Byron has found a way to win races late. He's got that golden horseshoe that Jimmy Johnson had for so many years. And I still don't think he's going to win the championship. I really don't. I feel like I've said many times already, you've got to lose one before you can win one. I think that's where Byron's at right now. He's going to be there. I mean, I just don't see him not making the Final Four unless everything just falls apart on him in the round 8, and I just don't see that happening. Does he have the pace to win the championship at Phoenix? He won there earlier this year. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be very interesting. But now I think it's time to talk about. Actually, we're gonna go over driver of the week, bonehead of the week, cup points, and then we'll talk about Bubba Wallace. I got a lot to talk about here with Bubba Wallace. All right, driver of the week. This week nominees, I'm going to nominate Parker Kligerman for finishing P2 in the Xfinity race. I'm going to nominate Oscar Piastri for finishing P3 in the F1 race. That's probably one of his best showings all year, getting a podium. That was a phenomenal drive. And then Logan Seavey, of course, sweeping the 4 crowns at Eldora. That is a major feat. I mean, like I said, we've only seen it 3 times ever before, and the last to do it was Kyle Larson. So I believe that gives him a nominee. So I'd like to see what you guys vote on after this podcast. Those polls will be out. Bonehead moves of the week. Like I mentioned, Logan Sargent qualifying crash. This guy wrecks every week. just you're gonna be nominated. Every time he wrecks in practice qualifying, I'm putting him on this list. I'm just over it at this point. It can't be wrecking every week. And then Sergio Perez turning Kevin Magnussen, just the most lack of awareness. Battle for P12, I believe it was. I mean, just ridiculous by Sergio Perez in the Formula One race. And then Ty Gibbs, just rookie mistake. Runs into Denny Hamlin on pit lane, ends his race. So he'll be a nominee as well. And then for the Cup points, right now sitting 9th, only 2 back is Bubba Wallace. 10th in points is Reddick. He's sitting 3 back. 11th is Ryan Blaney. He's sitting 11 back. And then sitting 12th is Kyle Busch, sitting 17 back. So a lot of ground to cover. I expected this from Blaney. Reddick had those issues late, so that was unexpected. And then Busch, very unexpected. I've got this guy. He's in my Final Four. I've got him and Truex battling head-to-head for the championship Phoenix. Can he recover from this? Yes, I believe so. I don't think that's too far out with 2 races to go. Talladega's kind of a wild card. Well, it isn't kind of a wild card. It's a wild card. It's Dega, baby. It's a wild card. So we'll see if he could turn it around there. And then the Roval, if I had to put money on Kyle Busch being able to be, let's say he's 8 points back going into the Roval, and if I had to put money on him advancing, I would do it because I think Kyle Busch is 100% capable of doing it. He's very underrated, and I think this is the last bad race he has of the season. I think he figures it out. I think for the rest of the season, Kyle Busch is going to be on a mission. I think he's going to be on a mission. Alrighty, before we go into the race previews, it's time to talk about Bubba Wallace, right? I don't know if you guys watched the post-race interview there with Bubba Wallace after the race, but I took it in probably a very different way than most people did, right? Most people probably like, oh, that's just Bubba Wallace complaining and whining and moaning again like he always does. I didn't see it that way. I didn't interpret it that way. I think you could see it in his eyes. There's a fire there now. There's a fiery passion. His season turned around before Watkins Glen. He mentioned before that, or in his post-race interview, that was probably the best road course race he's ever ran in his entire career. Got a great finish, did exactly what he needed to do to secure himself into the playoffs. And they didn't make any mistakes at Talladega, at Daytona for the season finale, survived all the wrecks, made some great moves, and really put himself in position to point his way in. Phenomenal job there. Start the first round. He was on fire that first round. I mean, this was a Bubba Wallace we haven't seen since his Truck Series days. I mean, absolutely insane round. And proved everybody wrong. Proved me wrong. I didn't think he could do it. I really did. And now he's in the round of 12. Qualifies on pole. Runs up front most of the day. Battles for the win. And he said the best restarter in the race. Choked it on the final restart. Had two good restarts and then had a bad one for the final one. Best restarter in the game. This whole interview, I just got the vibe that there's a fire underneath him. And it wasn't one of those, dang it, I lost this race and moan, cry about it, complain, and then he loses focus. This was one of those races where it's like, he's got confidence on high right now. Like Bubba Wallace was just oozing confidence in this interview. Yes, he was a little upset, and that was a little bit of raw emotion. I don't think that was typical Bubba Wallace emotion. That was raw emotion from confidence. He is on a mission this season, and being 2 points down right now with Talladega coming up, I think that's a race he could win. I think that's a race he can run up front all day and get a ton of stage points. I don't think that's a bad race for him. I think he's going to do good. I don't see him making these bad mistakes. He said he choked at the end of this race, and I don't think so. I think that's just racing. At the end of these races, they're so unpredictable. I don't think he could have done anything different to win that race. I really don't. And he ran great all day. There's nothing to be ashamed of. And I don't think he's ashamed of it either. I think there's a fire underneath him. And this leads me to my next point here is, Tom sent this to me actually. It was kind of a meme, but it's got a picture of Bubba Wallace and says, haha, you finished third, you choked, and are the worst driver ever in NASCAR. Then it's got a picture of Hailie Deegan, and it says, awesome job on your 20th place finish, hun. Only 3 laps down, but you were running really good in the end. You're the absolute best. We need to get you in a top Cup Series ride. All right, this brings me to my point. Right, wrap this all up. Bubba Wallace is just getting all of this hate for things off track, which I understand, but right now we need to start judging these drivers by their driving ability, right? We've got all of these people on, like I mentioned, these fans that are delusional. We've talked about time and time again on our channel, supporting people because of their off-track stuff, right? Or hating drivers because of their off-track stuff. But right now, in these playoffs, we've got to start judging these drivers by their on-track activity. I would say I was one of Bubba Wallace's biggest supporters early in his career, even when he drove those terrible Roush cars back in 2016, 17 in the 6. Just, you guys probably don't even remember that he was in those. Honestly, you probably don't. Probably don't even remember. But he was running decent, and I was a big supporter. I could see the talent even when other people weren't. And I believe that things changed around the time that he went to Petty and got into the Cup Series. Things started to go downhill. I think his anxiety got really bad. I think that his performances were bad, and it really affected his confidence levels. And then other things off track affected him, and then fans started getting into his head. And nobody could figure anything out to reel him in, right? And I lost a lot of faith in his ability to win races and be competitive. And then other things happen and stacked on, and now it's to the point where it's like Bubba Wallace is finding ways to lose races. And then when he runs good, he tries too hard and makes mistakes, and his biggest enemy is himself because he gets too much in his head. Like I say a lot with Denny Hamlin. I think we're seeing a Bubba Wallace that we haven't seen in a long time, and I believe he is going to make this round of 8. Regardless of a win, he is going to point his way into this round of 8. I believe that he is on a mission right now to prove everybody wrong. He's proven me wrong, and I'm done doubting him. Every time I'm doubting him, what does he do? He goes out and has one of his best races ever. Watkins Glen. I counted him completely out. I was like, we're at Watkins Glen. This guy can't drive a road course. He's going to lose so many points here. He's not going to make the playoffs. Daytona, he's going to drive over his head. He's going to make a mistake. He's going to wreck. He's going to not make the playoffs. Made the playoffs. Started the playoffs. Round of 16. Darlington. And he's going to get in his head. He's not going to be able to do good. This is a very tough track. Boom. Has a great performance. I mean, and then backs it up at Kansas. And then backs it up at Bristol. Only like 2 points to the good. And with multiple cars just breathing down his neck. Didn't make any mistakes and advanced. He advanced. This guy has no stage wins. No playoff points. He did a deep, deep hole. And just completely prevails. I mean, this is a storyline people need to get back behind. I mean, whatever you believe or what your opinions are of Bubba Wallace, I think you need to start putting those behind you and start focusing on what he's doing on track right now, because what he's doing on track right now is absolutely insane. And I think we need to start appreciating it. I think he's going to make the round of 8. Whether he can go further than that or not, it's going to be all determining on wins, right? Can he win some races in the round of 8? Can he maybe win one here in the round of 12? These playoff points are going to be a huge hindrance to him to make it to the Final Four. But I'm done doubting him. I think he could do it. I'm going with a hot take. I think he makes around 8. I really do. And I think we see him running up front more often in a couple of these races. And I think he could really win a couple of these races coming up. He really could. It's time to quit sleeping on Bubba Wallace as an auto championship favorite. I think he is stepping up, and he is looking like a championship favorite. He is running up front. You can't hide from the facts. You can't hide from what you see visually every week. Hate it or love it, what I just said, that's my opinion, and I'm going to leave it at that. Alrighty, it's time to talk about my race predictions for this weekend. The ARCA series at Salem, the Atlas 200. This is the penultimate race in the ARCA season. So Jesse Love just a couple more away from getting this title. And then the trucks in the Cup series are at Talladega this weekend. So notable entries in the truck series, we got Chandler Smith filling in the number 25 Rackley Work truck. DiBenedetto was in that. We talked about it last week. He's no longer in there, so they're getting some other drivers to fill in for the rest of the season. Chandler Smith is a choice. I think that's a great choice. I think Chandler Smith is an exceptional talent. That'll be good to see him, see what he can do in a Rackley truck. I mean, DiBenedetto won this race last year in that exact truck, so maybe Chandler could do it. All right, and then in the 75, Parker Kligerman, racing for Henderson. He's always a threat when it comes to Talladega Super Speedway. He's always a threat in that 75 truck. He always is. And then Front Row Motorsports is going to start a second truck this weekend for Brett Moffitt. I am excited about this. You guys will hear about that here more in a second. And then also, I just got to mention it because she's making a start. Jennifer Jo Cobb in the number 10 truck for herself. I'm going to leave it there. And then Bailey Curry is in the number 41 niche truck again. So that'll be exciting for him. And then Jack Wood is also going to be in the number 51 KBM truck. And then the Cup Series this weekend, we have Chandler Smith in the number 13 colleague truck, or Cup Series car. Brennan Poole is in the number 15 Rick Ware racing car. Riley Herbst is in the number 36, the third front row motorsports car. And then Carson Hocevar again in the number 42 Legacy Motor Club car. So it'll be exciting to see what those guys could do. All right, predictions. In the ARCA Series, the Atlas 200, I'm taking William Swalch to win this race. He's kind of been on a roll recently. I mean, just him or Jesse Love are really no bad pick here, but I'm taking Swalch this weekend. I think he's going to get it done. And then my dark horse, I believe he's going to win a race before the end of the season. He got 2 more chances. Andres Perez for Rev Racing. I think that this weekend might be the weekend that he gets that win. He's been so close, knocking on the door as of late. Maybe he gets it done this weekend at Salem. In the truck series, the Loves RV Stop 250. I don't know if this guy's really he could go either way. Dark horse favorite, but I don't know. Parker Kligerman, he's won here before at Talladega in the truck series. Him and that 75 team, they've just got a great relationship. It seems like any time that he's in there, he's a threat to win. I'm picking him to win this weekend. I think Parker Kligerman gets it done. He's on such a momentum high right now in the Xfinity. He cut like 20 points out of his deficit there in one race. I think he is on an absolute tear right now. He's on a mission. I think he's going to win this race this weekend. And then my dark horse, I don't even know if you can consider this a dark horse. I mean, everybody else is considering him a dark horse. He's a former champion of the series, and he's a dark horse. I don't know. Nobody looks at this guy to be any good. I don't understand it. I don't know who they're watching or what they think of this guy, but Brett Moffitt in a front row motorsports truck this weekend, the number 34. I think he can win this race. I really do. I mean, he's an exceptional race car driver. It's a shame and an absolute crime that he has never gotten a good opportunity in the Cup Series. An absolute crime. He's better than probably 8-10 guys in the Cup Series right now, and this guy doesn't have a shot. Like, come on, man. Look what he's doing in what is it, an AM racing car or truck in the Xfinity car. I mean, he's competing in the top 10 just about every week. It's not a dark horse anymore, in my opinion. But I'm going to take him as my dark horse because everybody else probably looks at him as a dark horse. So I guess I'll just add him to the list. But I think Brett Moffitt could win this race this weekend. And then the Cup Series, the Yellowwood 500, Talladega, the second race of the round of 12. The biggest wild card. Points are going to be crucial, surviving the big wrecks. I just don't know if we're going to see any big wrecks this weekend. I think everybody's pretty much got these new next-gen cars figured out on these super speedways. If we do see a wreck, it'll probably be late in the race. It'll be interesting to see the playoff guys struggle or not struggle in containing track position or having any issues. I mean, they could crop up any time, but I picked him to win Daytona. It came up one spot short to his teammate. I think that the roles are reversed this weekend. I think Buescher pushes Keselowski to this victory, and I think Keselowski wins and locks himself into the round of 8. He's gonna win. He's gonna win sooner or later. Brad Keselowski is having an insane season. People got to start looking at this guy to be more of a favorite on a week-to-week basis. I mean, every week he's up there in the front of this field with chances to win if one thing or another go his way. I think this weekend he gets a job done. First win as an owner for with RFK in that 6 car. Right at the perfect time, right in the playoffs. I think he gets it done. And my dark horse here, I can't remember if I took him or not at Daytona as my dark horse. I'd have to look back. He's in a front row car. They're bringing 3 cars this weekend. I think Todd Gillen. I think if he can win a race, I think this is the weekend. Will he have the speed of Keselowski in those RFK Fords? Probably not. But is he really good at super speedway racing? Does he have good teammate of Michael McDowell with him to help push him all day? He's in the Ford Alliance. He's going to be on the right strategy. I feel like Fords are going to be pretty good this weekend. Can he maybe find a way to get some track position late and win this race? Yeah, certainly. So Todd Gillen is my dark horse. Now for fantasy, I've given up on fantasy this year. I am terrible at it. I have really lost a lot of ground over the last couple weeks to Tom. So I kind of just threw a bunch of darts this weekend. See where they stick. Really, the only one I guess there's two that I'm super confident in. Brett Keselowski, I think he's going to win the race. Bubba Wallace, I think he's going to run good. I don't know if he'll win, but I guarantee you he's going to get stage points in both stages. I guarantee it. And then I think he'll be up in the mix at the end of this race. I think he's going to stay out of trouble. He's going to run phenomenal, so I'm putting him on fantasy. I think that, like I said, we're seeing a brand new Bubba Wallace. He's reinvented himself over the last 6-8 weeks, and I think he is on a mission. So I'm putting him on my fantasy. I'm not doubting him, not betting against him anymore. And then I'm going to take two of the front row cars. I'm going to take McDowell. I'm going to take Gillen. Gillen is my dark horse. McDowell, I believe that he's going to do better. I think he had some trouble there the first time we were at Talladega. So we'll see if he can correct that. And then I'm going to take Joey Logano. And the only reason I'm taking him is because he's either going to wreck running up front or he's going to run up front all day and not win. So that's kind of what I'm thinking there. I'm just throwing a dart. Matchups this weekend were interesting. We have Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney. If you remember, Kyle Busch won this race earlier this season. Ryan Blaney nearly won this race, but Bubba Wallace made those triple blocks there at the end and kind of took them both out of contention to win it. I think Bubba wrecked, and then Blaney still came on to finish P2. But this weekend, I think Kyle Busch is going to rebound. Like I said, I think that all of his bad luck this season is behind him now. I think he's going to settle in, and he's going to run exceptional for the rest of this regular season. He's going to make it to the round of 8 as well. And I still think he's going to make it to the round of 4. I think it starts this weekend. He's going to get a solid top 5 finish. And that's why I'm taking him over Blaney. Blaney, that team is just falling apart. Can't take him anymore. And then the next one's a really good one. Bubba Wallace versus his teammate Tyler Reddick. I think this is easy. I think I'm taking Bubba Wallace in this one. Like I said, he's going to get stage points in both stages. It's going to give me a lot of good points. And then when it comes to the end of the race, I think he's still going to finish top 10. I just don't think there's any stopping that 23 team right now. And then Keselowski over Larson. Larson, this is the easy one for me. Keselowski, I predict to win the race. He's going to run up front all day. Whether he wins or not, he's still going to finish way higher than Larson. Larson is proven to be absolutely terrible at super speedways, especially Talladega. I think he's only got one top 5 finish there in his entire career. Not this weekend. He's not going to do it again. I think he's going to struggle. And then when it comes to the Chastain Truex one, I'm going to take Chastain over Truex. Truex is kind of going to play it safe. I don't know why he would really try to go super aggressive here. He's looking good on points, and Chastain has way more to lose. I think Chastain is going to be more aggressive, and I think being aggressive this weekend is going to play out to being a good finish. Playing conservative, I believe, is going to marry you in the traffic, and you're not going to get a good result at the end of the day. So I'm taking Chastain over Truex. Alrighty, we'll do the radioactive of the week real quick, and then I have a couple more things to talk about, and then that will wrap up the episode. But for radioactive of the week, I got to give a shout out. Shout out to Penske King 22. He guessed last week's quote. It was Ryan Blaney. You were on it that week. So we've been getting some good interaction on this recently. We've got about 4 different people over the last 5-6 weeks that have claimed it. Maybe it'll be you this week, as the quote is, "Why in the blank did y'all not say anything before I got to turn 3?" If you guys can guess which driver said that quote in the post after this podcast, you will get a shout out just like Penske King 22 in next week's episode 37. Alrighty. Great races coming up this weekend. Talladega, Salem for ARCA. Be really fun. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, kind of 1 race a day. I'm super excited. I love Talladega. I got my Talladega hat out. Got to rep it. Wish I was there. It's hard to say Talladega without knowing that you're going to be there this weekend. We usually go in the April or the spring race for Talladega, not in the October one. So that kind of stinks, I wish I was there. I would love to be at Talladega with all the boys and having a good time this weekend. But I'll be watching it from the comfort of my own house this weekend. Also, it is towards the end of September. Next week will be October for the episode. So that means it's time for another watch party stream poll. This month's races that we picked are going to be October 8th for the Roval 400 for the Cup Series, the final race of the round of 12. Also, October 14th, Saturday night, is the Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta for the IMSA Series season finale. And that is a very intriguing race because we have the top 3 in points are all separated within 5 points. 10-hour race, Petit Le Mans, Road Atlanta. Super exciting. And then October 22nd is the United States Grand Prix for Formula One at COTA. So we could do that one as well. And then the other option is October 29th, the Martinsville race, which is the Xfinity 500. It is the final race in the round of 8. That will be the race that decides your final 4. So if you want to do us to watch that one with you guys, you can vote on that one as well. Also, I want to give a shout out to Dallas Seward. You've seen him on the podcast, seen him in the watch parties. He's been around the channel for quite a bit, but he is a member on our channel. He's part of our membership program. So if you want to also become a member on our channel and join our membership program, you can go to our channel. You can even look at the link of this podcast here, and it will take you to a page where you can look at all the different tiers of membership for our channel. If you find a tier that best suits your interest in the channel, select that one and become a member. It helps us out a ton. It allows us to keep bringing great content. Allows us to show up here on Tuesdays and share all the racing and all of our love for racing with you guys. Allows us to do these broadcasts every week. With the Nexus Sim Racing League, lots of big stuff coming up through the next few weeks with that series or with that league, with lots of different series continuing their seasons as we've just kicked them all off. So if you would like to become a member and get a shout out just like Dallas, join our channel and become a member. You can also become a member on our Patreon as well. So if you want to check that out, you get some benefits that you don't get on YouTube through the Patreon, and also some stuff that you would most likely be interested in. So make sure to check that out as well. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, follow us on TikTok. Tom has got us up a TikTok. It's very entertaining. He's made some pretty cool shorts on there I've seen. So make sure you follow the link, or it's in the description below. Go click on our TikTok there. And then also, if you want to buy some merch, some Big Daddy NASCAR hats, mugs, shirts. If you want to buy some Dega Boys merch, go check out the link in this description below. You can go and buy some nice swagged out gear and rep the Dega Boys. Share it with all your friends and family. Maybe they can go check it out. That helps us out a ton. So pick them up now while they're hot. Got some great swag. Also, I just want to thank everybody that has liked, commented, and subscribed on all of our recent videos, live streams. You guys mean the world to us. Me and Tom, like I've mentioned in the past, this is our passion. This is what we love. We love auto racing. Most people like stick and ball sports and other things and have their own niche. Racing is ours. We love racing, all racing. Motorsports, just, it doesn't get any better than that. And we cover it all. We love it. We love it. We watch all of it. We enjoy all of it. We've got some pretty good hot takes, making some great content. Lots more great content to come. But all of your support allows us to continue doing this and allows us to continue growing this channel with you guys. We have great interactions. Lots of cool people in our chats, sharing their opinions. We got another crash compilation video coming out here in a few more days as September closes out. That video is over an hour long. Lots of wrecks this month as a lot of the series got back going again after the summer break, and they're closing out the rest of their seasons. So lots of big action there. So make sure to check that out. That will be coming out here soon, towards the end of the week. And we will be back on Tuesday. Hopefully Tom will be able to make it. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it tonight. But hopefully he'll be back for that one, episode 37, next Tuesday. Can't wait to see you guys there, as well as stay tuned. Lots of iRacing broadcasts to come. Come support everybody there in the Nexus Sim Racing. Come cheer on your favorite driver. Lots of the best drivers in the business in Nexus Sim Racing. Make sure to come check them out. Show them some love and support in the chat. Come interact with us and come watch some dang good racing. They always put on a great show. Can't miss action. I just want to, again, thank everybody for coming out tonight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Just me here tonight. Hopefully I gave you some good opinions, good talking points, and covered everything for this weekend and the weekend upcoming. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Have a great evening.